Orbital.
The chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger roll, Atlantis.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Fighting outside SC off. Bring in SC off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks, you know the drill. You've been sitting here hanging out, waiting for something to happen with Booster 7 all day long. John Galloway with NSF here, and we have seen motion on the booster a couple inches. Looks like the chopsticks are taking part of the load, but as promised, we are doing a dedicated stream here for what may be the final lift of Booster 7 onto the orbital launch mount with the chopsticks at Starbase before the orbital flight. Did I catch everything? I think I got everything, right? Yeah, we're good. All right. With me, I've got some help. So please welcome Mr. Alex. Alex, we got you with you? Alex may be finishing his food. Did you finish your food, Alex?
No, I'm here. I'm here. I was just muted.
Excellent.
I'm doing
Alex,
okay.
good deal. Alex is also finishing up some food because you never know when the booster is going to lift, and you may have just made some hot wings that are not hot yet. So he may have to step away in a second to finish up dinner. And we also have Mr. Chris Bergen. Chris, how you doing?
Good evening. Doing well, thank you.
All right. So exciting times. We did a little bit of a Raptor side earlier and just talked over on Starbase Live when we were watching what was going on. We saw him undoing bolts from the bottom of the transport stand to free up Booster 7. We actually heard, if you saw Adrian's tweet, the klaxon and the pad clear PA that went off a little bit earlier that said pad clear for Booster 7 lift, and then they did that pad clear klaxon, and now we actually saw the first motion, so we figured that we would go ahead and start. Who wants to do a little intro on what exactly we're looking at here right now? Whoever talks first.
Alex, I'll tell you what, I'll do a bit, and then you can finish up and round up all the gaps I'm making this latest status update. Is that a deal?
Okay, you read my mind. I was gonna throw it to you.
Right. So this is a big rocket. Okay, Alex, over to you. No, I'm joking. What we got is Booster 7 has moved back from its cryostation parking spot and has moved back towards chopsticks. We got a clue of that early this morning, about 5 a.m. I think it was local time, where the chopsticks rose and we knew, okay, that's a good sign. And then Booster 7 quickly rolled, in the rain by the way, towards the chopsticks, and the chopsticks came back down and took up their position. So this is where we are, waiting for the road closure, which was, I think it was a few hours ago now. And that allowed them to get ready for this lift. And this is where we are right now. We've seen in the last few minutes, I think it last 13 minutes ago, we saw the slight lift. So the chopsticks have taken the weight of the booster. And the next thing will be for the clamps to let go, for the pins to release, and then to be...
Speaking of which...
Yes?
Sorry for interrupting you. I'm actually seeing the clamps opening. So if we can switch to the other view, there we go.
On the left-hand side, look at that.
And the right as well. You can see they are these boxes with like cylinders on top, and they are holding the booster, and now they're letting it go.
It's like magic.
Yeah.
But that's where we are, and that's what's going to happen next. It's going to rise out of this transport mount. That's what it's sat on right now, a transport mount. It'll rise up into the air, be translated over, put back down into the orbital launch mount, and that, hopefully, and it's what we think, will be for the final time. The next time it will leave the orbital launch mount will be on launch day. That's how close we're getting now. We've been waiting for this for a long, long time. And it's soon about to happen. I think after the Booster 7 gets onto the orbital launch mount, the next key thing to watch out is for Ship 24 to come and join the party. And hopefully that'll be early next week. Did I miss anything else?
I think you touched on everything.
Wow, it's a first.
If y'all keep explaining for a second, I'm going to see if I can't draw exactly what we're looking at here so everybody sees exactly what we're trying to see.
Sure, I could probably start with the stabilizers on the transporter, because that transporter has the clamps that we are looking here at, basically retracting now, but it also has 2 pins on each side of the booster, and the one that is closer to the camera is the one right where that boxy thing with 2 circles on the top is located. You can see there some kind of black thing next to it, that is actually one of the pins there. And this and the other one at the other side of the booster, those help the bottom of the booster as it goes. Basically, as the booster is lifted off the stand, you don't want the nozzles to hit the transporter. So it basically stabilizes the bottom of the booster as it goes up so that it doesn't hit. And it also kind of helps align that lift as well, so that they can actually push a little bit the booster here and there for that alignment. That is also very important for when it's coming down. Because you need to align the booster so that then the clamps can connect to the booster itself. Are you ready, Das?
Yes, I'm ready. I actually haven't tested
Okay.
it yet, so I'm going to test it first. Then I'll tell you that I'm ready. Do we have
Okay.
a? Yeah, we're good. Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. Add
So
to that though that the process that we're seeing today is sort of the opposite of when they lift it from the OLM to the stand. And Das over here actually did a whole explanation about that on a recent Starbase update that we did. And it's also in short format, so whatever way you want to consume your videos, whether long format or short, it's also available in short format. Like just the explanation as, they put off the booster from the OLM onto the transporter stand.
oh gosh, the short, so embarrassing.
It's a good one. Actually, people like it.
Sometimes
YouTube likes it.
you give people video and then they do things with it, and then I find myself in a short explaining how they lift a booster, and I'm like, oh gosh, it is really cool. It's like 60-second explanation of what's going on. So here is this, and if I've done my job correctly, we're looking at these right here. Like, look all in this area, and you can actually see the shiny hydraulic pistons that are pulling those clamps out, and those are sort of going into the bottom side of the booster. And now, as they pull back, they free the booster. Right. And then we're also looking at these things here. These are those, the vertical guide stabilizers, I guess you could call it, right, Alex? And that's going to raise up a bit as the booster actually goes. And we should see the booster hopefully start to move vertically shortly. Did I get that right? Uh-oh.
I will
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah, you're
confirm. Yes,
totally
that's
right.
correct. If Alex is not around.
Yeah, I think he was
Yeah.
fixing the chicken wings.
Yeah. I tell you one thing. The interesting thing is, and it is a unique thing, the transport stand, it actually doesn't start to lift, but it holds on. With the arrow on your DAS out there, it shows it actually holds on to the booster as it rises, and then eventually the pin will come out. As it's about 20 feet in the air,
Yep.
and then the pin comes out. So it's a clever way of keeping it stable, because the key here is not for the Raptor nozzles and their booties, hello,
Their booties.
to hit the side of the stand. It's a clever system, I must admit. Whoever designed this had a lot of foresight, because the last thing you want to do is have this very complex booster get damaged just by lifting by a chopstick, by swaying in the wind or whatever, because it is windy there, let's face it. It's right by the sea.
Has anybody played Operation? You know
Exactly.
the game?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's
haven't.
literally like the game of Operation, where you have to take out the funny bone or whatever, right?
I was
And
terrible at that.
it was the little pair of tweezers that were metallic, and it had a little cable going to it, and then the little hole had a metal ring around it, like a little edge, and the edge was metal. And if you accidentally touched the side when you were trying to get out the funny bone or whatever, then it would buzz, and the guy's nose would light up, if I remember correctly.
That's
And it's
correct.
the same sort of deal. SpaceX is like cheating at Operation here, because they have these guide risers, whatever we want to call them, and they're going to make it so that, the wind blows, a little load shifts or anything like that, the booster doesn't boop against the side of the transport stand. Those pins, or the guide risers, whatever, help it stay centered, so you don't, scrape a Raptor engine bell against the side of the mount because something shifts a little bit as you're raising it. Chat, Operation. Do I have some backup in chat that's like the game Operation, or does people
It is
not
the
know what
Operation game. By the
Yeah.
way, can I have a shout out for Kaplunk and also for Buckaroo? Thank you.
Are those other games, or people watching?
They were
this?
games, yeah. Buckaroo was where you loaded a donkey with more and more saddle equipment, and if you overloaded him, he'd Buckaroo.
Really? I have never
Yeah.
heard of it.
I will find things on Google. Don't worry.
I think
No
I played that
kidding.
one.
Kerplunk, you like pull little
The
sticks out or
straws.
something.
That's right. Yeah, and the marbles would
straws
fall
out.
down. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you
We
go.
didn't have Xboxes. We had games like that.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Anyways, folks, if you're just joining us, we are doing a dedicated stream here. We're talking about Booster 7, which by all indications is being lifted onto the orbital launch mount potentially for the last time. And I'm John with NSF. We've also got Alex and Chris here explaining what's going on, drawing, telling jokes. Alex is going to eat some food at some point, but we're here until this thing gets lifted and put up on the mount or SpaceX gives up for the day. Today's road closure still goes all the way until 8 p.m., so SpaceX has 5.5 hours in the road closure, and it's Wednesday, and they need to fudge it a little bit if they need to. Not a big deal like it might be on a Friday or Saturday, not supposed to do it. So we're here to explain what's going on, and as of right now, you may have gotten another notification from NASASpaceflight because we've spooled up another dedicated commentary stream, Starlink, going out of the Cape with our other team over there doing commentary for a Starlink launch. Plus, we have three 24/7 streams that are going. We have a super secret stream that shows NSF personnel all of the cameras that we have in all of the places. So NSF is currently running 24/7 streams. The behind the stream, and then 2, 4, 6. We're running 6 live streams right now. That's
Wow.
crazy.
How is that even possible?
Computers.
Wow.
The magic of the internet. And a lot of automation too. So anyways, same as always, there's already super chats and stuff like that coming in. I see the first super chat has some curly L's attached to it. Sorry, pounds sterling.
Thank you.
Sterling. I can't even say it the
Yes,
right way.
thank you.
But I see super chats and gifted memberships and that sort of stuff happening. Questions as well. Tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight if you've got a question for us. This should be over on Twitch. Yeah, hey, how's it going, Action? And the folks in the super secret backroom chat over on my Twitch channel. Oops, I'm not supposed to tell people about that. Whatever. Everybody over on Twitch as well. There's like a super secret backroom where people chat as well. So anyways, that's what we're doing, and we're watching for Booster 7 to move a little bit more, but all indications are going in that direction. Hey, Twitch. Nice. They said, hey, Dust.
I kind of want to know what this super secret Twitch stream is now. I want to
How
pop in there and say, hello, you've been a secret all this time? Who are you people?
It's not going to be much of a secret if I tell 4,000 people where it is. Like, come on. It's like a
that's true.
speakeasy. You have to have a special knock and stuff.
We're all friends. No one will pass it around. Can I read out these super chats?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Right. Rayon says, how many chopsticks could a chopstick lift? I think that's a bit of a lyric there. I'm not going to go with it. To answer the question, that's not a question, is it? Let's face it. Musical Wolves, Booster 7 lift and Falcon 9 launch at the same time. Awesome, indeed. Big respect to Chris G there. And indeed, we'll never stop doing the indeeds, but Chris G will always earn the indeed.
Oh, yeah.
Catboy Rocketry, go up. These are support. Thank you for your support. By all means, ask a question if you need to. Steph B, one of our regular gifters, 1 Red Team membership. Thank you, Steph B. We will rocket you another regular. How do they get Booster perfectly lined up onto the chopsticks from the SPMT? Does the SPMT have to be perfect, or do the chopsticks have the ability to fine-tune movements? Also, shout out to kids Jude and Jana watching. I'd like to shout out to those two. Jude and Jenna, hello. Alex, I believe the chopsticks are the ones that do the refined movements. Would you like to confirm that?
Yeah, so actually there's usually a bit of a confusion between the SPMTs and the transport stand. The booster is sitting on the transport stand, and the transport stand is sitting on the SPMTs. And the SPMTs are not always underneath the transporter. The transporter can be just on the ground by its own. Now, right now, it is obviously under SPMTs, and the SPMTs are in charge of moving it around. And those SPMTs do need to be located in a precise location for the transport stand to be in that precise location where the chopsticks will pick up the booster. Now, it has to be on a very precise location, but then again, all the pins on the transport, like those 2 pins on the transport stand, the ones on the chopsticks and everything, they can basically adjust for the position. I don't think it is very I don't think it really needs a lot of precision, maybe to a few centimeters, but that is easy for an SPMT because it's very versatile. And I'm sure if you see all of our dailies, there's probably some video of the guy with a telehandler going around, and the SPMTs are each wheel basically moves independently. It's not really that limiting as, for example, a car, where it's a little bit different in
Yeah.
that sense. So you can achieve a lot of precision to the centimeter. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Or the
Cool.
inch, I guess, for those that don't use
Or
the.
the centimeter, yes.
Either
Jim
way.
Cavett, a regular again. I mean, I said he was a regular on the Rapside chat we had, and he's in the live stream as well. Again, another Red Team membership. You must have about 200 people who are being gifted Red Team memberships, Jim. I've lost count, but I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. I'm sure the people who got the gift memberships appreciate it too. So thank you. Sir Gawain with 5 Red Team memberships. Again, if you get one of these Red Team memberships and you're in chat, please do thank the people who are providing them, because it's free for you and you get a month of Red Team, which is fun. So it's extra content. And also you show up as a member on the chats. SA Plays. Whatever happened to the testing with the thinner sheet metal? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, they went from 301 aluminum to 304L, and they were looking at the 30X. No one knew what it was actually called, we call it 30X. Do we know how far they've got along with that process of changing what metal, what aluminum, the steel they're using for this?
Well, I think they're referring to the thickness of the material. The material is sort of the same as I think it started on SN9, which is 304L, and basically all of the major parts of both boosters and ships are made of 4mm thick steel, except for one part, and that is the payload bay section, which is made of 3.6mm thick stainless steel. They did try thinner steel. I think it was to 3mm, with a couple of test tanks here and there, but that doesn't seem to have gone anywhere else. I don't know why, but could be could be anything.
Well, it's all part of it. Like they try all sorts of different things, right? And just because they tried one thing doesn't mean it's a set in stone. That's how SpaceX works. They're like always iterating. So, we spy the label and the label says like 3 point whatever millimeters or this type of steel label or whatever. They're always trying new things and they test it. They do cryo tests, they do stress tests, they put things in the nose cone jail and smash it and bend it and whatever. And just because we see something once doesn't mean it's a set in stone change, right?
Exactly.
Cody has become a Red Team member. Thank you for that. Andy Law, one of our regulars. Daz, as a follow-up to what you were saying about software on the live chat earlier, the website earlier, can you talk about the delicate dance between the tower crane and the stabilizer pins having to work in concert?
Well, they have to make sure that like one system's not fighting another system, right? So you could cause some trouble if you tried to tell the chopsticks to start lifting while the booster was still connected to the transport stand. Could the chopsticks pick up the mass of the transport stand and the booster? Well, is the transport stand also on an SBMT? And the SBMT has counterweights, like all of the different things. You just want things to go in the right order. And we know in the past when things don't go in the right order, cough, cough, don't pressurize the bottom tank while the top tank is still full of cryogenic liquid. Things can happen. And so they do have to work together. But here, I don't know. I'm not going to say that it's digital, but your states are like all the pins are in or all the pins are out. And you don't want the booster the chopsticks to really try to lift the booster until all the pins are out. If it was me, and I guess if it was SpaceX, you would probably have little indicators or even maybe double indicators like switches or something that check to see that every pin has retracted and is out of the hole. Somewhere, is this a software controller? Is this just a big dashboard that's going to light up a light somewhere? I don't know. Like, does the software talk to those pins? The software that controls the chopsticks talk to the pins in the transport stand and confirm that it's green lights on all the pins before the chopstick can move a certain amount? I don't know that it's automated in that way. Like, even if you tried to tell it to lift, it wouldn't do it. Or is it like a dashboard where a human operator is like, yep, that is all clear, so let's proceed with the next step? I don't know how SpaceX does it. I know the more and more automated they get, the more connected together those systems would be. But all of the, people said the space shuttle was the most complicated machine ever built. And it's all the sensors. It's not just you got 3 engines and a couple ohms pods and this blah, blah, blah. You've got to make sure the payload bay doors are closed. everything, all the sensors that tie into the control software are always checking things and making sure that things are cool. Have they gone to it with the transport stand and the chopsticks? I don't know yet. But I guarantee you, when you get into like launch and we talk about the vehicle deciding to abort, all of those systems are tied together. Like all the sensors monitoring the health of all the engines, talking to some master controller that's deciding whether or not that it's going to go for it. When you get down to millisecond timing, you really need that. But for this, it may still be a person looking at a light or a dashboard or something somewhere. Hopefully that answered your question a little bit there, Andy. Thanks for asking it.
I'm just gonna put a poll, or maybe a flash poll for only for a few minutes, because I remember the reference to Space Shuttle being the most complex vehicle ever built. And I tweeted it once, many years ago, and a rather angry naval officer said,
Oh,
absolutely
no.
not the case. It's a nuclear sub. They were the most complicated vehicles ever made. So I'm just going to do a quick chat poll, because how do you even compare the two is baffling to me. So I'm going to put a poll in now, and because I'll give the option for another vehicle being named. But I was always told by people who I respect greatly in the industry that the Space Shuttle was just for, and it was actually quite a detriment to the vehicle that it was the most complex vehicle ever made, because the complexity of the vehicle was really one of its Achilles' heels, unfortunately.
Yep.
And that's where Starship is really handy, because when it comes down to it, it really is kind of like just one massive flying booster with a ship on top. It's not like they've outkitted the ship yet with like windows and life support. It is basically just steel with tankage, and they're going to fill it. They've got the powerful Raptors at the bottom and send it. So you've got a lot less things can go wrong.
It's like, how do you do it? I imagine the people on the submarines are like, the submarine is the most complicated, and the people who built the space shuttle are like, the space shuttle is the most complicated.
Probably, yeah.
Some guy somewhere has built a massive like excavator that one of those mines that like this huge digging wheel thing, and he's looking at the space shuttle and the nuclear sub and like laughing like, ha, I bet they think that's complicated. Wait till they see what I built, right? So there's all sorts of different ways to classify it, but it's how's the poll going?
The poll is, I'm happy to report the space shuttle is at 58%. Nuclear sub is at 26%. Other is at 16%. I think some people have mentioned aircraft carriers. That's quite a decent shout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not a bad shout. A nuclear-powered aircraft carrier probably might even outdo the nuclear sub by a long way as well. So that's quite good. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a flash poll. Don't worry, it's not staying there for long. Meanwhile...
I want to say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
I want to go for like a fusion reactor.
Yeah.
Like, because they're containing the energy of a sun using magnets, and it all has to be aligned like exactly right. And even though it doesn't look that complicated, I imagine the control systems for these fusion reactor designs people are trying to make power positive, right? I imagine those are some pretty complicated things as well, even though they don't look that complicated. Anyways, carry on.
Is it a vehicle, Daz?
Oh, it's not a vehicle. That's right. We have a fusion powered aircraft carrier. How's that?
There we go. Got to be
Not
a vehicle for this poll.
You're right.
Yeah. Philip, thank you for your support, by the way. He's arriving at Starbase with my son Sunday. Excited to see Boost 7 in orbital launch. Now, any chance of full start by then? Right, Sunday. Oh, I'm going to say no. Well, I don't know. Actually, there is a chance. Let's face it. Yes, there is a chance. I'm not going to rule it out. It's not like there's absolutely no way it can happen. But I'm personally thinking that Ship 24 is going to be a little bit more close to the launch date, because for a few things, Ship 24 is a bit more complex in the way that it needs to be there, rolled out, check for TPS that's come off during the roll, and then stacked. And then when they're stacked, they're in a kind of clock to get things moving.
Chris, look.
Yes? It's going up.
It's going up. I've been
There you
interrupted by Booster 7. How wonderful.
Good job. No, you should talk so that it can interrupt you.
Yeah, I should.
It
Well,
makes
actually, it's
things
good because we could be talking
It's
3
like
hours
when
into the
it's
future
open.
and nothing's happened, so this is good. But to answer the question, I think it's unlikely, but there's a chance. I think, well, at the very least, you're going to see Booster 7 on the stand. That's a good thing. Ship 24, I think, will roll out next week. It depends how long you're staying there for, Philip. Are you just there for the day or staying out there for a bit longer? Let me know in chat.
There's a weird road closure tomorrow from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Might happen. It might. There might. I mean, we don't know, do we? This is the thing. We're always sort of like watching and learning and speculating and educated guessing, I should say, because we have got some experience now with Starbase. But no one really knows. It's not like we're sat getting memos from SpaceX saying this is our plan for tomorrow, this is our plan for next. We just don't know. It's not like the old days of shuttle where you did get those documentations.
Yep.
We were spoiled during the space shuttle days. We really were.
Hey, real
Look at
quick,
that
folks.
shielding.
You could see the shielding, but also remember we talked about the guide rails lifting up with it. You see how the
Yeah.
guide rails are extending, and the shiny hydraulic arm, the hydraulic piston that's all shiny, that's the part that's exposed now. That is what's playing the game of operation, or I guess cheating at the game of operation here, keeping the Raptors from booping against the side of the transport stand. But you really can see that lift here from this perspective. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt there. I just wanted to point that out real quick.
That's really good. And by the way, I just want to, while we got time, even in NSF, can you give a little, my little girl, Cadlia, please, when I put this into the thing, I won't give you pronunciations because I tend to butcher names. A happy 2nd birthday for Friday, please. Watching from Oxford, England. Happy birthday, Cadlia, and let's everyone else try and pronounce that, see if I haven't made a mess of it or not.
Yeah, definitely need some help there. I think you have the best chance, Chris, being from England yourself.
Alex, what do you see there? Cad?
Oh, I don't know.
I've never heard anyone
Cat-
call that name, so I don't know.
Cadla?
Cadla?
Cadla? I don't know.
Out of this world, please do a kind of phonetic spelling of it so we can get it right for you.
There you go.
See,
Look
now they
look at all the
they
happy
can tell
birthdays.
us who got it better.
Everyone in chat is wishing happy birthday. That's nice.
I'm reading chat to try and see if anybody
Yeah,
has
I am as
any,
well.
any
Yeah.
help. Yeah, you know.
We're pausing the commentary until we get this right.
Looks like we had a little bit of a pause here. And this pause, Alex, is this where they're going to remove the guide pins?
I think it's a little bit higher up. I'm not sure. Well, no, maybe this location, yeah, because you can see here the rails on the left on that pin. They cannot go. They cannot go
Much further.
Much further. Yeah, that was the phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, the rails are almost like bottomed out. Folks, I can't completely fake you out here because it's going to move. You saw it move a little bit there, right? But so I can draw, again, we're talking about these guide rails here, and then this is that big shiny piston that I was talking about. And Alex was just pointing out the bottom of the rails is not sticking out anymore, so it doesn't look like they can go back up very much. And then this here is sort of stuck in to the side of the booster. There's like a little pin that's helping hold the booster and keeping the Raptors from booping against the side. But that's what we're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, now the important thing will be the stabilizers on the chopsticks to then fully engage with the booster and see if we can.
I wonder if we can raise the camera slightly so we can just see the top of that guide rail.
Yeah.
I didn't want to because I wanted to preserve the time lapse.
Okay. No time lapse before anything else. No time lapse before any of my requests, please. Thank you.
No, because then when we speed it up, you can sort of see what happens, and the overlay cuts it off a little bit, but the actual source video is a little bit higher than you see here. I looked at the source and I was like, oh gosh, I really want to touch it, but I didn't. I didn't tweak it any. So as soon as it starts to move up anymore, I will follow the Raptors with that camera so we can look.
Yeah,
up
I'm only here for the booties. Let's face it.
You just want to see Are they on right now?
You know what? I can't really see them.
I think they might be off if that's
they might
the
have
sharp
taken them off.
edge.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll jot that down. We'll have Adrian jot that down in the spreadsheet as one of the steps, right?
Yeah.
Removal of booties. Yeah.
33 booties.
Oh, let's y'all, again, we're watching here right now. What we think is happening is the guide rails that raised up to help the booster not knock against the side. It's probably detaching from that since the guide rails can't really go any higher than they are right now. And then we would expect the lift to continue after they're sure that those two pins, one on either side of the booster, are free and clear, and it won't try to, drag an SPMT with it or anything like that.
And I might imagine? I have to do some talking while you just check control panel does.
Sure, absolutely.
Right, okay. So we've got Alan, who's become a Capcom member. Thank you, Alan. I'll see you in our Discord, because that's where you get Discord membership in NSF, Capcom and above. And it usually syncs within about an hour or so, so just hold on for that, and it'll come up straight away for you. We'll see you in there. Maxons, are the starships with nuclear engines planned? No, I don't think so. I know Elon is he likes nuclear from the his Nuke Mars days, doesn't he? But I don't think there's any plans for anything Starship related on a nuclear side. Alex, do you know any plans SpaceX might have in the future for deep space, such as their bases with nuclear side of things? I'm trying to think back to the early days of the Mars planet. I definitely saw a reference, I think it's in a NASA document, of what SpaceX wanted to have at Mars Base Alpha, and that included a nuclear plant, like a power supply station. So I wonder if you've heard anything since those days of anything in SpaceX's plans related to nuclear.
I really haven't heard anything. I
No.
don't think it's that easy to actually go into nuclear stuff because, you know, all of the considerations with security.
Right, ground umbilical carrier plate. That sends a shiver down my spine when I read that out, because that was a leaky thing on the space shuttle tanks, signal tanks. The GUCP, the GUP. They had many an issue with that during the final space shuttle launches. That's a great username. How many Starship launch until we could start a zero-G dodgeball league?
What?
Dodge, duck, weave, and dodge.
Oh boy!
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a dodgeball. Yeah, you're asking us questions we have no idea how to answer. I think you just want to get the joke out there, and the joke is out there. Well done. Well played.
There you go.
sir.
Good job.
Well
We
played.
said your joke.
Yes. Kleisenstein, considering the way it was built, the ISS would be the most complex vehicle. If you count it as
Ooh.
one, that's a very good shout.
Ooh, it's a vehicle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a vehicle, and it's extremely complex. Wow, that is a great shout, Kleisenstein. I tell you what, I wonder if that is something which would win the poll. I'm going to take the poll down, by the way. I already said it was a flash poll. Let's take it down. Space Shuttle won with 55%, by the way. But I do like that. The ISS is a very good shot. It's a great one there. Thank you.
That really is.
Yeah. Out in this world. Hey, guys, it's pronounced Kayla. Kayla? Oh, God. Kayla. There we go.
Nice. Kyla, maybe? Kyla?
I don't know. I asked him to spell it out, pronounce it. He's just giving me another name.
Hey, that's okay. Kyla, happy birthday. We really did try with your name. It's such a unique spelling. It's a cool spelling of your name. But happy birthday, and hopefully you get a cool event here at Starbase to celebrate your birthday. They're not going to light the candle today, but it is still a cool thing to watch, and especially share with your family.
Kayla, because that stuff, I know a few with that name, Kayla. There we go. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, happy birthday. 2 years old. Now, that's an interesting thing. People have got kids of young age now. Goodness me, what a future they've got to look forward to.
Yeah.
By the time they're into their adulthood, we could be flying to Mars. We could be flying to Mars. I'm going to be careful because it's always been 20 years away ever since I was young. But I think now, realistically, we are getting to an era where these things are becoming possibilities. And this big vehicle we're looking at right now is one of the reasons why. We've got the Artemis program, which has got SLS and Starship working tag team, these two massive rockets. And I think the way the whole spaceflight arena has changed into this commercial model, along with agency oversight, which means government money as well, it just becomes more realistic. Everything seems to be coming into place. They'll have ups and downs, they'll have road bumps, they'll have issues, they'll have problems. But I think this is the closest I think we've been of having a realistic chance of seeing footsteps on Mars within that 20 years, if not a lot sooner now. It's an exciting time. If you've got kids, they must have something really to look forward to. I know I was a child of shuttle, and I basically lived with shuttle, and shuttle was restricted. It was always in low Earth orbit. It was always like those kind of missions. I loved the vehicle, but it was restricted. The era that's coming forward to us now is beyond Earth orbit again. It's past the Apollo program as well, because we're looking at Mars. So it's exciting times. I think it strikes me when people talk about their young kids that are going to get them into space flight. A lot to look forward to. The one who is smart, I think is the way our panel works. He kind of cuts usernames into half, but there we go.
Nice.
Thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Appreciate it. And Mike became a PadRat member. Jonathan, will a moon base be visible from Earth by eye? Hollywood movie time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying about that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of Hollywood movies where they see like New Berlin and places like that. These massive cities on the moon you can see from Earth on the
Yep.
night sky. Yeah, I think the size of the city would be so huge, it's not going to be viable for many decades.
Yeah. I do hope so one day. Like we
One
look
day,
up
yeah.
at one day, not the first one we put there. Artemis 3 will be visible from the surface of the Earth or anything like that. But I imagine, I know some people will have a very different opinion, like, oh, you've ruined the moon. But if one day you look up and you see the crescent moon, it's like half illuminated or something, and there are the lights of a human colony on the unlit side of the moon, that's going to be an amazing sight to see in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
And that plays back to people who've got young kids, and they're obviously, as parents who are big fans of spaceflight, going to try and introduce their kids to spaceflight. These are the kind of things they may be able to look forward to. So it's really exciting times. Luca, you become a Red Team member. Thank you. And Inner Space, become a PadRep member. Appreciate the support. I will read them out because it's the reason why we can do these things of support. So it's very important we do acknowledge people who support us. Some other questions. Detroit Mission Control. Could this only be a fit check for Boost 7 on the orbital orbit mount? With all the other new construction? It's a good question. I don't think it is. I think we are looking at a launch flow now. I don't think we'll see Boost 7 being taken back off again. If it does, I think everyone will cry out, no, not more orbital launch mount modifications, please.
People are going to riot. They're going to riot if they take it back off. If they put it on today and then like in a couple days or a week it comes back off again, people are going to riot.
I tell you one thing, Alex, do we know if the flight termination system's been installed? Because I think if anything's going to happen with it coming off the mount would be for FTS install, but I can't see why they'd have to take off the mount for it.
Well, I doubt the actual charges are on the booster or the ship.
Yeah.
We kind of saw them testing it, or more like working on it, at least for the booster. They were working on it a few days ago, last week. That was part of the last Starbase update as well. And we sort of talk about in that update that maybe as part of the flight preparations, they need to test the system that, it sends the signal for the charge to explode. Because otherwise, if the charge is there, but the signal is not sent, or the software does something weird that doesn't send the signal, or something happens in between, then it's useless. It's a useless it's a useless system. So I'm not sure about the charges actually being on the box for the FTS, because that is usually very a hazardous thing. I think that's probably going to be something that they're going to do closer to launch.
Yeah,
probably already on the mount.
I think I'm just trying to basically find any excuse for them to take the booster back off the mount, but I think that installation task could happen on the mount anyway. So I am just trying to go through my mind to back up why I think this will be the last time it's going to go on the mount before launch. So yeah, that's where I think we stand.
Here's a good question, right, to think about. With the largest ops, those aerial work platforms, the 100-meter aerial work platforms, they can reach the top of the booster from the ground when the booster is on the mount, right? And so they can use those large work platforms to reach the entire side of the booster, so they could use that to go up there and put a charge on if they needed to, if it's not already on. But when it comes to the ship, they can't reach and I think that this is correct, right? Maybe they don't want to stretch it or the wind's too high or whatever, but I don't know that they can reach the flight termination system point on the ship if the ship is stacked on top of the booster with their largest lifts. Plus, there's not like a little maintenance arm or something that swings over to that area. So when you talk about FTS and is it installed or not, is it activated or not, or whatever, you also have to think about the difference between the booster's FTS, which they can reach with the lift, and the ship's FTS, which I don't know that they can actually reach that position of the ship when it's sitting on top of the booster. So, we'll
that is
see
an
what
argument
happens.
also. Yeah, and that is also an argument as to why we probably think that they're not going to not roll, but more like stack the ship on top of the booster until they are closer to launch, because otherwise they will need to work on the FTS before launch, right? And they cannot do that while the ship is stacked, or at least we don't really know of any way they could work on it while the ship is stacked. So they will have to do it either the day before or like maybe 2 days before max. Because you probably don't want that thing to be on the ship for too long. Maybe like we've seen even for other rockets, SLS, that when you put the FTS and you do all of these tests, you usually have some expiration date
Yeah, like a timer.
to exactly, like there's a timer there where you probably don't want to launch it where the FTS is installed for too long, because then batteries run out, things basically get expired and things like that.
Well, there's
Gets
also
unreliable.
there's safety systems too, right? Like remember all the way back 84 years ago when they were doing the hops with the ships, and we would be watching there and we'd be watching for what to happen, and they would have to unchain the
pins.
flaps and stuff. But then one of the last things we would always see is that lift go up and work right around the ship's FTS area, and they were like pulling pins basically that says, okay, now the FTS is in a state that it can actually go. It's armed. They would pull these safety pins out, and that was one of the last things they would do. So I don't think that they would, pull the pins and then have a week's worth of work with everybody crawling all over the booster and the OLM and all that sort of stuff. I imagine we would see the same sort of thing for an orbital test flight, right?
Yeah, and oh, there we go. The pins on the transporter stand have retired and gone down.
Nice. Does this have an official name, Alex? I called them the guide.
Yeah, guide pins, transporter stand pins, whatever.
Yep.
It's called a GPS. It's called a GPS. It's a guide pin system.
Guide pin system. Nice. All right, NASA. Jeez. But now the booster is hanging above. The weight of the booster is completely on the chopsticks now. It's been completely disconnected from the transport stand, and we should be watching for some motion to start happening as soon as these things are completely secured, which, baby, right now.
Typical SpaceX flex. They're trying to time this almost like to be at the same time as a Falcon 9 launch, aren't they?
Yeah, right.
Like, look at us. We can do two things at two different times at the same time.
What's the Falcon 9 at? Is it like T-minus 10 minutes or something like that now?
10 minutes,
oh my gosh.
And this is not the first time they've done this. Like, there was a time where they lifted Ship 24 with the chopsticks. They were launching a Starlink. They were lifting a Falcon 9 booster at port, and they were lifting another ship. I think it was Ship 25 on one of the suborbital pads. So it was like 4 lifts, one under its own propulsion with a launch, like all going on at the same time. It's crazy. We're also doing 2 live streams as well.
That's why we tweet all these SpaceX tweets, because that's everything happening right now is SpaceX related. People go, all you do is tweet SpaceX tweets.
SpaceX does a lot of stuff.
SpaceX does a lot of stuff. We cover a lot of stuff. There you go, yeah. I just want to quickly get this out of the way. Musical Wolves, can you expand, without doing a super chat, just expand on it. What modifications to the space shuttle would be needed to lift it using this method? I don't know the context of the answer. I'm going to read it anyway because it's a super chat. But
up it
let
goes.
me know what it is. Up it goes anyway. Let's pause while we follow this little lift. Lovely.
Here we go.
I get my Twitter
ready. Once you talked.
Well, that's good. That's fine. I'd rather do it rather than 2 hours into a conversation and nothing happening. Ooh.
It's like a pause.
You can see the slight wobble in it. That's why the pins were there.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. From over here, we can really see.
Yeah.
You can see the engines here.
Now it should start to rotate, and it'll look like it'll hit the OLM, but hopefully, if they actually do it right, it won't. It's weird because the initial lifts of the booster, where it goes up and above the OLM, and then it just basically swings above the OLM and goes down. But now it's like it goes up a little bit, it swings to the OLM a bit, then goes up again above the OLM height, and then it swings to the OLM and then goes down. So I think they're already swinging it. Yeah, it's already swinging.
Yeah, it looks like it is. Like all the different angles, we don't really have one that's showing exactly how it's swinging, because right now it's coming towards this camera. So
just think about this for a minute. The next time you'll see this vehicle in the air is hopefully with the engines firing and on launch day. That's
There you
something to
can
take in.
you can see that motion from this angle here.
Hmm.
It's sort of swinging over towards the OLM. Then, like Alex said, it'll go up even higher so that it clears the OLM. Then it'll go down and get clamped into the OLM proper.
Yeah. The first time they did it this way, we were like, wait. It's not. It hasn't cleared the height of the OLM. Why are you swinging it to the side? You're gonna crash into it, because it obviously, it was the first time we didn't know, and we were like, wait, are you doing it right? They just changed the thing, and we weren't aware of that.
Look at it go! I like that you can see the numbers on the Raptors.
Yeah, that's always been a nice thing to keep an eye on because there's
And I
people who have been
think,
taking...
yeah, go ahead.
No, go on, Alex. You interrupted me. You might as well carry on.
No, I was gonna say that when they lift it, maybe we can see inside the nozzles they have another set of numbers, which is for the positions of the engines, because each position is numbered, and they have that. I think at least on the center engines, that position is painted inside of the nozzle. I know that because Jack got a very good view of that. I don't know when, but it was a few months ago, I think.
You can really see it from this angle here. See how the bottom of the booster is still well below the OLM, and that's where we're going to see it move up even further so it can clear it and then swing over the rest of the way into position. But this is from one of our cameras down south.
What's your favourite Raptor, chat? I've seen people already posting their numbers of their favourite Raptor.
Nice. It's always like all right, do I start moving the camera right now? It's nice and clean, but we've got the time lapse. We haven't touched it. As soon as this thing starts to go up anymore, I'm going to reframe this shot and we'll see what we can see with the Raptors there. And again, folks, this is like they're moving a skyscraper here. It's going to start going up right now. Slow and steady wins the race. They're not going to just have it hover forever, but it's all very, very intentional motions here, right? Here we go. Let's go over this way.
Time lapse ends in 3, 2,
exactly.
1.
That's Chris telling me to move the camera now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just cool. And once it starts to go, it really does start to go. Like, look at this. There's the edge of the OLM, that ship door right behind Booster 7 lift. Look at that. They are going to have this thing in the air while Starlink launches, though. Subtle SpaceX flex.
Yep.
You watch.
And there's my tweet clip. Thank you.
Nice. I was ready. I was ready to start clicking. Like. Looking from over here, we can see that it is continuing to rise up. Not quite clearing the deck yet, but of course the real shot of it clearing the deck. Let's get some scaffolding in here, shall we? That's what we want to see right there. There you can see that temporary scaffolding serving as a safety rail on top of the newly shielded orbital launch mount, and that's that ship door. It looks like a door on a ship. I don't know what other way to say it.
Hey, I'm gonna hop in here. It's Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Why does SpaceX do everything all at once?
That said, subtle flex. Yeah.
Flex.
I just opened up YouTube and there are 2 NSF feeds, and I had to choose. All right, I'm gonna go. Have fun, guys.
That's what browser tabs are for, Nick. Why not both? TacoBell.png. And we can see here as it goes off the top of that shot, just about the one piece that it hasn't cleared is that QD hood, right? And I don't know, Alex, does it need to completely clear the QD hood? Or does it swing in such a way that it clears it to the inside, right?
Well, it's already cleared, so
Oh yeah, you're right. It took me so long to say that, and now like there it is. We'll set up another cool shot here.
That's your answer there.
This really destroys your sense of scale. Look at this. Put some flames under that. Call it a power slide. When I guess if there's flames under that, we've had a very bad day at the launch pad. The 1.02 thrust to weight. Go.
You can kind of see those numbers inside the bells.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
like if you squint a little bit there.
Let's see here. And it's going to start swinging over. They always have a little pause here, right?
Yeah, this apogee, as they call it.
I guess that's correct. Like it is the highest point that the booster, when undergoing a chopstick lifted or a chopstick assisted takeoff, it's the highest point in the booster's trajectory. I don't know if it's a trajectory if it's still attached to the ground.
While we're in this whole position, I'm going to quickly read out some super chats so we don't get the queue too long. I wanted to show our appreciation for people supporting us.
Absolutely.
Steph B, 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you. Remy Turk, 5 Red Team memberships gifted. Again, people are receiving these, so if you do receive one, please do thank the person in question. Tyrannus Cygnus, that's a great name. Padrap member. Remy Turk, gifting now works on mobile app. Oh, that must be a new thing. And about the most complex vehicle order not man-made, it would have sent the notification 6-kilometer radius vehicle is most likely the same. Mode of transportation, right. Another ISS fan there. I saw somebody mention in the questions as well that the Large Hadron Collider might be the most complex machine ever made. But yeah, we're talking about vehicles. So yeah. But otherwise, that's a very good point. James Krause has become a Red Team gifted 1 Red Team membership. Happy 4th anniversary to NSF YouTube. Thank you. Yes, we realised in the Raptorside chat earlier that's the case. Thank you, Theron. Jonathan, has Super Heavy ever flown before? And is it different from Falcon Heavy? Right. Well, this has never flown before. No, this is a brand new vehicle. The most complex, the most powerful and largest vehicle ever constructed and for launch as a rocket. It is going to be this first test flight. Is this one with Boost 7 and Ship 24 on top, and then hopefully that all goes well. The next flight will be Booster 9 and Ship 25.
I'm still watching for it to start swinging over. I like this view too much. Like the booster just hanging there and you can't see what's holding the booster up because we're zoomed in down on the OLM and we got the wider views, but this is just a cool shot. Like the engineering that went into the chopsticks, Mechazilla, whatever you want to call it, right? It's like a custom-built crane system, lift system that is specifically designed for these vehicles on this mount. And the whole point is they want to be able to do this rapidly without having to roll in a big crane and assemble it or always have it there or whatever, right? They have their infrastructure to support these launches. It's just such a cool thing that they've built.
Falcon 9 has launched.
Aha!
Yep. Under first stage propulsion right now.
They have 2 vehicles in the air right now.
Someone check fleet cam. Just in case.
Also, thanks to James, you actually backed up your original one with another 5 Red Team memberships. That's crazy. Thank you, James. That really is appreciated. And Jimmy Wood, if Starship is flying and payload capable at the same time, ISS is still in service, could we see CRS missions to the ISS docking tests? Now, I don't believe they're going to do that now, but I see why you asked the question, and also there were renders from SpaceX, official renders, showing Starship docked to the side of the ISS. It looked hilarious because the size of Starship compared to the ISS is like twice, if not more, than a space shuttle when it was docked, and that looked pretty much like a big partner rather than anything like the Dragons and the Cygnuses and the Soyuzes, which look like they're almost like they belong there. So I don't know if maybe it was ruled out because of maybe the potential docking stresses of such a large vehicle on the side of the ISS, or if it just simply wasn't a mission objective, because SpaceX have their cargo dragons, they have their crew dragons, they have the potential of the Dragon XL, haven't they? Even Alex, for the Gateway. So I think Starship is more what it comes in the package as far as a vehicle, that capability. And I can imagine them stocking up the ISS for 3 years, whatever you could carry on Starship. So it'd be like a one-off CRS mission if they ever needed it. But I think maybe that's no longer in the plans. Alex, what do you think? Do you think we'll ever see a Starship dock to the ISS?
Oh, I would love that to happen because I'm a big fan of the ISS, but not sure what will happen with all these structural concerns and things like that. I mean, the shuttle was a tad bit lighter, but it was still big.
Yeah.
And it was docked to the ISS, so I don't know.
I just remember the space shuttle. It was so it was. I mean, if you're talking about structural concerns, I mean, it was docked with the IPAS system, and they even managed to find a way of using the SSPTS, which was shuttle to space station power transfer system. There we go. That's what the acronym stood for.
And it's rotating. Real quick, it's rotating over right now. Sorry, Chris. Yeah.
It's rotating.
I know better than to break into the middle of a space shuttle discussion, but it is rotating over the OLM.
That's fine, yeah. It's not a permanent. It's not a permanent update compared to what we're watching, so that's good. Yeah.
Again, if you're just joining us, this may be the last time that Booster 7 is lifted and put onto the orbital launch mount before the Starship Orbital Test. That is the big deal here. We've seen it go up and down. It's like the Duke of York almost, like marching the Starship or the booster up the hill to the OLM and then down again and up a hill and down again. But this may be the very last time we see it happen with Booster 7. Now, other boosters, hopefully we see it over and over and over again. Hopefully we get a good flight. And then Elon, I think, has said that he'd like to do another flight a month later. We appreciate you, Elon. Thank you for driving things forward. But 2 months I'll allow as well. But that's what we're watching, and you can see the orbital launch mount there, the tower in the background, and currently Booster 7 swinging into position before it is lowered down and clamped by the OLM.
I also appreciate you managed to get a Duke of York reference in there.
I tried. I snuck it in there.
Yeah. He's a hero. He's a local hero.
That's a children's song I was talking about the other day. Like
it's
the
true. That's what it's a real.
Yeah,
it's actually it's responsible to him. Yeah, it's General Duke of York, 10,000 men.
Yep, marched him up to OLM and then he marched him down again. So
yeah. And once they were up. Once they were down, we're down. Right, Cooper Foster, do you think they have time to install the new deluge before launch? Yes or no? Alex, what do you think? I'm going to say no. What do you think, Alex?
I don't think the deluge is going to be installed for the first flight.
Does?
I don't think so either. I think that it puts them too much into the territory of, well, the FAA was done and then you didn't launch for 2 months. Like, I have a feeling they're just gonna launch it and send it, and they're expecting to take some damage. But if it nominally clears the pad and everything like that, they're good to go. They'll repair the damage as long as we don't get a pad fallback or massive destruction to stage 0. That's the important thing.
I do think, though, that it's probably going to be installed as much as they can. They're going to be doing that work, because right now all of the work that they're doing is behind the tower, and it is true that super heavy, super powerful as well as super heavy, but it's also super powerful. But if you put everything behind the tower, that kind of gives you some shielding, and you can put already all that pipes and tanks and everything. You can already install that behind the tower, which will be protected from the flames of the launch. And once they launch the first mission, then they can go down to the OLM, and if there's an OLM, they can go and put all the remaining pipes that need to be put for the deluge system, which seems smart to me. I think if they want to both YOLO it but also complete as much of the deluge system as they can, I think that's probably a happy medium there.
Nice. Getting closer to position, not quite lined up yet, but it is moving in the right direction, that's for sure.
You mean the Falcon 9 booster landing?
Oh, no, this booster landing. Different booster landing, sorry.
You were saying that as I was looking at the Falcon 9. starting its landing burn, I was like, yeah, this could
Wow.
fit.
Mark asks, what's the maximum loss of engines on Boost 7 in flight that would be safe? I think we were evaluating that earlier, and chat was in concert with us by saying 28. It can still keep going uphill and get to its objective with 28 Raptors still firing, which is crazy that they could lose 5 engines during ascent and still be okay.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know the official figure on that. I'd be very careful to say that's what we assume from the general consensus, but that'd be amazing because we all wonder why did they need so many engines, and it's like the reference to N1. You know, are you really taking the right route with all these engines rather than like 4 mega powerful rockets, like mega powerful engines like SLS has with the 2 boosters?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's the approach I want to go with. Oops.
We are almost lined up. We'll probably see it pause for just a second and then drop down. Now, Alex, does the orbital launch mount have the alignment rails like the transport stand does?
It has alignment pins, but they are a little bit different. They don't go up.
They don't
So
raise
they
up
basically
like we
they
saw?
just exactly they only rotate a little bit. Swivel, I guess is the term, and they are there, so you can see in this shot. You can actually see them on both sides, a little bit behind the all the scaffolding on top of the OLM. But you can see on the sides, on the top deck there of the OLM, you see some kind of I will call them like
There's a drone too, by the way.
rectangular things. You're gonna draw it?
No. There's a drone flying just above the NSF logo. I kept this camera a little wider because the drone was hanging out there, but now it's drifted off a frame, so I will zoom in a little bit more. Keep going on the explanation.
Okay, yeah, so those 2 pins, once the booster is already down, they help the booster, the aft of the booster, be in the correct position so that they can then come with the clamps and connect them to the booster, because the OLM, just like the transport stand, has 20 clamps, but it also has 20 quick disconnects that go into all of the, basically on each Raptor on the outside of the engine section, on all of those outer engines. And so they need to connect not only 20 clamps but also 20 quick disconnect plates.
Yep,
to the
and they also need
Raptors.
to lower it, which it's doing right now.
Exactly. So as they lower it onto the clamps and cuties, basically to the right position, that's what you're going to see here. Once they go down, those pins will insert into the same locations as the transport stand pins, and they will help the booster be centered in the right position for those clamps to engage and those cuties to connect as well.
Yeah. And real quick, y'all, take a good look at the Raptor engines there. That may be the last time you really see those Raptor engine bells until there's fire coming out the back of them. Hopefully. You know, knock on wood, I'm over here knocking on my head, but that may be the last time we see them.
And even then, I will say, on launch day, you're not going to see them this close because there's going to be a lot of dust in the way.
That's something we've been talking about. Like, you put your cameras too close in, and as soon as the Raptor's light, you're not going to be able to see anything else. So, there's a drone right in the middle. Look at that.
Yep.
It's like strafing across, looking at, it's probably looking at the alignment, looking at the gap down between, but I'm trying to figure out what side of the scaffolding that drone is on. Certainly that drone is on the near side of the scaffolding. It's not flying between. Yeah, there the drone is clearly between us and the scaffolding. It's like, that's a little close to be flying the drone.
Someone said those flies in Texas are weird looking. You could probably confuse the drone for a mosquito, given the sizes of the mosquitoes.
They're similar sizes down there in South Texas. That's true enough. It feels like that. It seems like we may have redirected some folks who just saw one SpaceX booster launch and land plus payload going to space. You know how that is. And this is going to be the second SpaceX booster landing. That's a bit of a stretch. The second SpaceX booster operation, where it is being relocated from one place to another. Down there at the Cape, the Falcon 9 relocated from the launch pad to the drone ship, and then here the booster, the Super Heavy booster B7, is relocating from the transport stand to the orbital launch mount. If you're just joining us, maybe you were watching both streams, but if you don't know what's going on over here, this may be the very last lift of Booster 7 before the Starship Orbital Test. That's what we're watching. We're live out here from Starbase, seeing what's going on, and we've had great progress so far. You can see they're just going through the final checks to lower that booster down into the orbital launch mount and clamp it all together again. Good times.
And one of the things that you can see, or at least before when it was being lifted from the transport stand, was all of those subtle movements that I explained before, where the pins moved and pushed the booster here and there, and you can even see it right now.
Wow.
It's moving the booster a little bit to the right here.
Yeah. I mean, it looks to us like that was a significant distance. Was that like 5 feet or 3? It was more than a foot, it looked like.
So obviously this needs a lot of coordination between, the chopsticks, the pins and whatnot, and being able to position it carefully. And again, at the OLM is even more important because you have not only the clamps, but also the QDs. And so it needs to be in that right position so that everything can engage into place.
Yeah.
And eventually, also the main booster quick disconnect on the side of the OLM.
Yep.
So everything needs to be in the right position.
I'm going to ask really quickly. I'm going to leave this up to chat. This is the chat option for people watching. Should I zoom in tighter on the Raptors, or should I leave it like it is, wider to show the entire bottom of the OLM? We're not going to do a poll or anything. I'm just going to read chat and see what I feel the answer is. Got a couple zooms, got some yes, there was one leave it, and then 18 billion zooms all at once.
Oh boy.
That's what happens when you ask 10, 11,000 people their opinion. I see a lot of leave it's, but I think I see more enhances in zooms. Not a
looks like the booster. It's sort of moving in the wind. Yeah.
Is it like let's zoom all the way in and see. We'll get a little bit more on any subtle motions of it when we zoom all the way in.
Yeah,
and
let's
just
do it.
Fill the screen with the booster, and we'll put it right about like
there we
that. Go. Hey, you can read the numbers really well now too.
And you can see right off the edges of the screen here, left and right. You can see those pins that I was talking about.
Yep.
On the OLM.
Yeah, you can really see the numbers now well.
I
really earlier when I framed the shot, I really liked it almost looked like Greeblies on the bottom of the OLM, like the kit bash sort of, you've seen the old Star Wars movies where they literally were taking model kits and just taking a random part off this model and pasting it to the outside of the Star Destroyer to look good or to look cool or whatever. And all the little piping and hoses and shielding and all the little technical things, it really looks cool to have those in the shot. So I had intentionally framed it earlier so we could see the little Greeblies, one way or the other. Anyways, y'all know what I'm talking about. Greeble, yeah, there you go. It says somebody's going to play these as the winning lotto numbers. Today's winning numbers are 97, 53, 41, 61, 46, and 10 whatever. I don't think a lot of lotteries go that high, do they?
It's quite the... Oh, there we go. It's going down.
Definitely going down now.
I was going to mention the differences in numbers. Just before they go out, the Raptors, you can see one on the left says 34, but on the right there's one that is 105. So you can see there the difference of types of Raptors from very early to very mid production, because we've seen already Raptors into the 200s.
It's like a sunset, watching the sun slowly sink below the horizon. But there, now all we can see is shielding. Still, the tops all the plumbing of the Raptor engines, but it's encased in those little. This literally looks like something somebody built in Kerbal. Like they went for however many X symmetry, and they just like clipped the part in a little bit, and then the little part of the little Mark 1 tanks is still sticking out the side, just the hair, but the rest is clipped in. It looks like something that's just been clipped together in Kerbal Space Program.
I will do this with a 4 symmetry, and then repeat it 5 times.
Repeat it 5 times, nice.
And you can do 20. The inside is a little bit like the ring of 10, because I've tried this on Kerbal. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh really?
I've tried the 3, 10, 20 pattern of engine distribution. It's a little bit complicated for the 10 one, because you basically have to do 2 5 times.
To make
There's not like 5 or something.
Yep.
This is only 2 times 5, so it's not as straightforward.
It really, you know, whatever. People are gonna get sick of me. It looks like the bottom of Cloud City. Like the top of it is nice and clean now, and the bottom still has, you know, all the little bits hanging down in the weather vane that Luke Skywalker grabs onto with one hand. Sorry for the movie reference. Whatever.
That is something that we were talking about also on the last Starbase update this Monday, that we said last week, hey, the last panel has been installed, and people were like, well, you know, they could still put more, you know, shielding, whatever, like underneath, maybe on the top. And that is true, and we actually pointed that out, but, you know, we can never be sure of when this thing is going to be completed.
Yep. When they're going to call it done, because it's always the balance between, you know, you got the ship there, and it makes it a little bit harder to access some of the parts of the OLM, and it also looks very nice when the ship is there, and it looks like it's just about ready to go. Sorry, the booster and the ship, or just the booster or whatever, right? But again, this is very likely. There's a very high probability, a very strong chance that this could be the last time we see Booster 7 specifically lifted. I hope I'm not jinxing it, like knock on wood all day long, but that is why this is such a big deal. It's one of the very important steps marching towards that Starship Orbital Test that everybody is waiting on. And it's going to be a day. It's probably going to be a couple days, because it's very likely that it scrubs a couple times, but it is definitely going to be an event when Starship is actually, you know, village being cleared, areas cleared, they start fueling the thing. I can't even imagine what that's going to feel like.
I do wonder if they have on a board sort of like right before the engine ignition or while the engines are igniting, that's going to consume a lot of propellant.
Yep.
Because they don't boil it off entirely. Some people think that, you know, they load the fuel, they load the oxidizer, you know, the oxygen and the methane or whatever, and well, the methane they recollect it because you cannot vent it, but the oxygen is okay, right? You can vent it, and so everything is vented out. The issue is there, you're venting like what, 4,000 tons of liquid oxygen?
Yeah.
That's a lot of oxygen that you're venting. That is reclaimed from the same quick disconnect, the same umbilicals that they use for loading. They just roll the same process, but the other way around, the inverse process, and they drain the propellants back into the ground tanks. The only issue there though is that there's some that is basically lost to boil off, because that it's exactly, and this tank farm is very limited in its capacity. It's sort of like it has the propellant enough for like 1.2 launches, So if the losses to boil off are like 20%, they're already like 1 at
Yep.
1 launch exactly. So maybe they need to take a little bit more time than just one day. And that is also something that happens to other rockets as well, where if they scrub way late into the countdown with a whole rocket already fueled, that takes a lot of resources, not only just oxygen and methane. The oxygen and methane are subcooled with liquid nitrogen as well, and that liquid nitrogen that is also needed to be recharged and everything. And so that could constrain the capability of recycle.
Yep. And again, folks, like, remember when, like, what Alex is talking about, just to summarize what Alex is talking about, when they tank the vehicle, some of it boils off, some of it escapes out the side, and the tank farm can only hold so much. And remember, there's all sorts of stories about, oh, they want to make propellant on site and condense, their own oxygen, methane, whatever, right? But right now, they still have to bring it in tanker trucks. And so if they go for launch and they fill up the vehicle and they lose so much that they don't have enough extra capacity in the tank farm, they may not be able to go for a launch the next day. They may have to have the days of tanker trucks rolling in, replenishing their propellants, their consumables, before they could actually go again. So that's another consideration when it comes down to exactly how they try this and whether or not they go for it. Real quick, we've got some super chats. Go, hey, Chris.
Quickly, Bird. Look at the bird.
Bird, yes, chat has pointed that out.
Yeah. So we're quickly going to go through all these. We're going to speed through these. First of all, Jim Lars is asking if Chris G's job is operating the chopsticks.
I think so.
We can't say what Chris G's job is, but that'd be amazing if it was true. Lumpy, thank you for becoming a PadRap member. Also, I saw you add an amendment to that saying third membership, but the first paid membership, so you've had 2 gift memberships. Happy to finally be able to contribute. That is awesome.
Nice.
I love that. Yeah, someone who's been gifted 2 Red Sea memberships over the course of their watching and decided to buy one themselves. That is incredible. I really like that. Elmard, what happened to the shield between the Raptors? That's a good question. Are they still? Because I remember they're taking them off before they took Booster 7 off the mount the first time round. They started removing some of the shielding. Do we think it was just some of the shielding and not all of the shielding, Alex?
It's there. You just basically cannot see it because they are hidden from view from all the shielding from the outer engines. It is true though that they removed some of it. Maybe there's a few panels left over to be installed here and there, but it's mostly installed.
Wonderful. Dashcam, zoom, make my heart go boom, boom, my super duper girl. Oh, lovely. That was $5 well spent. And Hartley Saunders II beats that with no comment whatsoever, just $5. Thank you, Hartley. You absolutely could have asked a question there, but we appreciate your support. That guy, Jake, do we think we'll see starships will be filled with Tesla bots? And it'll send them to Mars to build ready for humans to show up. That sounds like a fun question, but actually it's a brilliant question because I do think the first Starship launch to Mars will be infrastructure related, and I can imagine the way. Someone told me once that everything Elon does is related to Mars, even Tesla, even Solar City, even Neuralink. Everything is related to Mars in some way, and I can imagine all those fancy machines they've got at the gigafactories, which are building these cars, could probably be a technology applied to build an infrastructure on Mars Base Alpha, before they need to send humans there to outfit the place. Now, what do you think, Daz? Because I think that's a wonderful future insight into how they may be able to do this, because sending the first humans to Mars with no infrastructure, no support, other than the vehicles they arrived in, might be quite risky.
Yeah, I don't... I think that things will be staged there for them, like especially if they're going to go down to the surface and not just do a loop-de-loop around it. I don't know that we're going to expect fleets of Tesla bots like iRobot style with Will Smith running around or anything like that. I don't think they're anywhere near that. They can do some cool little video things where they've set up a little thing for them, but they're not going to be marching around Mars anytime soon. So at least let's put it this way: I hope that humans go to Mars before, like, we don't wait for robots to get to that level before humans actually head that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, but thank you for crashing my dreams. I
I
did
mean,
like the idea of robots running around Mars before the humans
yeah,
arrived.
I love the idea, but I hope if that's 20 years away, we get humans back there before 20 years, right? Let's not
That's
wait
true,
on that.
yeah.
Let's go and do a loop. People making fun of me because I said loop-de-loop around Mars. Whatever, you know what I mean. Like,
Don't worry, it's almost a predicted next question. Andrew Ashley asks, when we will have bases on the moon, do you think we'll have Apollo sites that become theme parks like Futurama? So, I'll tell you one thing, I can give a sensible answer to that. There is a NASA document, we've got an L2 from years ago, which said that the Apollo landing sites will be classed as heritage sites and that any potential future space tourism to the moon will have an exclusion zone. You'll be able to see the sites, you'll be able to see the landers as what's preserved there, but you will not allow into a certain 200-meter radius of those sites because they're preserved and they're NASA-owned hardware, government hardware. So that is something where you will not have space tourists jumping up and down on the landers and where the flags were and anything like that. They'll be able to see them but not touch them. So that's quite a clever way of answering that question, if I don't mind saying so myself.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be getting on the Whalers on the Moon ride and going past the old site or playing moon golf around it or anything like that. But it will be cool to see at some point. I hope we get some, what's a moon base versus we've landed and stayed a little while versus a colony on the moon, right? I hope we have people back on the surface of the moon and we don't just say, we did it, and then we never go back again. I hope we have some long-term infrastructure that actually stays there. Did we catch all this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying we've got some. A lot of the questions are fantastic. I'm trying to go through the best ones as possible as I can, but a lot of synergy in what we're replying with here is because Adrian says, "I was a child of Apollo. Afterwards, had doubts would ever see human again walk on the moon in my lifetime. Now with Artemis and Starship, I may see humans walk on Mars." That just puts it into context for me. I think that's wonderful. So that's something that now is a possibility. I was talking about the always 20 years away for Mars. Back during the shuttle program, there was always 20 years away from Mars, and it may still be 20 years away, but now we're probably bringing down the timeline a little bit, especially if these vehicles become reliable via their test program. Let's face it, SLS only launched once, and Starship has not yet to launch, but we've also got New Glenn eventually will come into the thing, and that's a massive rocket, by the way. People do not appreciate New Glenn is nearly the height of a Saturn V. It's a huge rocket. So when that comes online, that's more capability. It just adds more redundancy and more options to what is NASA becoming now a customer rather than an operator. So it's an interesting era we're heading into where that timeline is reducing.
Yep, absolutely.
We have a programming question. Ben Sharp asks, Padrat member level get exclusive photos right now. It's red team and above. Padrat gets your name into green into the chat and gives you a membership tag. Red Team and above gets you the photographs in the Red Team subscription area of our YouTube channel, and Capcom and above gets you access to our Discord.
There you go.
How are we doing on time, Daz? Are we into our final questions now, or are we got some time?
I think so. We've got a couple more super chats I'll grab real quick and a couple things to talk about. Park the Frog, thanks for becoming a Red Team member there. Appreciate the support. Nick Kane, 10 pounds sterling. Fine.
Thank you.
Says, with boosters growing in size, is there a point where the thrust would be so high it would just create a crater in the ground trying to lift off? Or is this the reason the boosters are mounted at height? That is sort of what they're thinking, Nick. Their thinking was if you put the orbital launch mount high enough, you might not need all the same flame infrastructure, the flame trench and thrust directors and stuff like that. We'll see how that works out for them. It's a bold move, but we'll see how it works out. That is what they're thinking with the orbital launch mount. But at some point, that's where you got into Sea Dragon territory. Let's just fire our massive engine at the water, the ocean, and see how that goes. I do think that they are never going to do a great job firing rocket engines at a flat surface with no direction control at all. So I have a feeling we're going to see that in places. Even as the boosters get bigger and more powerful, I think you got to manage that energy somehow, or launch them from 100 meters above the ground, not a few meters above the ground. Moldy Space
One thing to
Industries.
point out.
Oh wait, yes.
Oh,
we're speed
I was
running.
going to say that. Yeah, the height of the ramp at the LC-39A and LC-39B ramps is sort of the same altitude, sort of the height is sort of the same here as the OLM, just for reference.
Right, but they don't fire into a flat surface down below. They have deflectors that try to send the energy sideways, right? Right.
But here,
Moldy
the implicit is that it goes always.
in all
Like,
directions, yeah.
all directions, yeah.
I want to see a pyramid or something in there that is like a point that directs it out to the side instead of a flat surface that reflects it back at them. Moldy Space, thank you so much for the 5 red team memberships. We appreciate the support. Moldy Space, we see in there all the time. The Raz is a red team membership. And let's see here. Also, folks, I know we do this a lot. Like, we say thanks to people asking questions and doing super chats and stuff like that. There are other ways that you can support what we do, and the number one way to do it is to just show up in the stream. Like, come on over here, like and subscribe, whatever, ask questions. You see a tweet, click the little heart next to it or something like that. You never have to do anything financial to support us. Just being here, part of the community, is a fantastic way to show us that what we do is valuable, especially when you're showing up with your friends and your family and your kids are watching and all that sort of stuff. If you do, however, want other ways or want to support us in other ways, we always have the merch shop. Y'all know, shop.nasasspaceflight.com. We actually have the Ring of Fire. This is what reminded me of it, because here are the Raptors with no shielding on them. We've got that Raptor Ring of Fire t-shirt design. You got hoodies, like all sorts of stuff that you can do with this. But hop on over to the store, grab a t-shirt. We have all different sizes and colors and long sleeves. And is this a flag? Why do we have a flag? I guess we have a flag, apparently, on the shop.
You don't remember?
We showed it during the static fighting.
Yeah, but it was
put it
that
up.
was a banner, but that wasn't the okay. I got you. This is an actual flag.
It's
not
the
a
same
banner.
thing. Eh.
All right. That's one of the many ways you can do it. We got the new logo as well. I actually have a special version of this hat that maybe at some point I will put in the store. I have a stealth version of this hat, but this is the normal version of the hat. Anyways, it's another great way to support what we do. Get a cool hat or a mug or something like that. I know sometimes when you look at it, you're like, how much does that mug cost? But really, it is another way to support us. You get a mug. The other money goes to help us contribute to everybody that makes the streams happen, help us pay the bills and the data and all that sort of stuff. It's just another great way to support what we do. While I have this up, I want to share something from Nick as well. Nick posted up a tweet that is a shot of this happening. Nick has some cool camera gear. I can't even fit it all the way on here because it's Twitter. But let's get this link into chat. I can just do that. And I can just put it into chat. So y'all can head on over and check out Nick's tweet of what may very well be the last lift of Booster 7. I really need a better way to show these. And one more thing I want to point out real quick. Y'all know there's so many talented 3D artists that work on awesome animations and illustrations and movies and renderings and all that sort of stuff. The 3D artists have come together, and if you saw from Ryan Hansen Space over on Twitter, they are releasing an awesome orbital flight test trailer. It says link below. I will put the link into chat for you, but please support the 3D artists as well. Head on over, look at the trailer on the channel. They are a bunch of ridiculously talented people, and they really do help share the story of how all this stuff fits together and comes together and that sort of stuff. Make sure you show them some love. Here is a link to the tweet as well, right there, to Ryan Hansen and all the other talented 3D artists and people that do animations, drawings, all the different ways. There's so many different ways to help share this story, and so many people do such a good job of it. Anyways, that's my pontification done. I just wanted to share a couple of those things. We have this opportunity. So many people watching. Please head on over. You pick up something from the shop. You go and support the artist. Click like and subscribe on Ryan Hansen's channel as well. Like their video, whatever. So many people do such a good job of showing what's going on. Did we get any? We did. A couple super chats came in here while I was doing that, but I think right now we're getting sort of down to the end of the stream here, right? Boosters down, pins were moving, the whole shooting match.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right now it's in that moment where it is there, it's now being, so there's the pins on the sides of the OLM, kind of putting it in the right location, and venting from the tank farm is going on.
Yeah, suddenly. I'll turn it down a little bit. There you go. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, and so right now they are in that process of doing the final adjustments and, you know, the clamps will go in with the QDs and everything, and they'll connect that to the Raptors and the booster, and it'll be secured. But that will take probably a few more minutes. Yeah.
Hey, I got so some people's asking chat, and these are the true fans. Like sometimes you're like, okay, the stream's gonna end, and then a bunch of people bail. But the true fans are still listening right now, right? And somebody did ask about the shop. Do we still have the full stack plushies? And I'll put this link into chat as well. You glance at it and you're like, oh, it's a Starship on top of a booster. But check out this landing page, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Then you got the plushie as the part of the link. And I have seen some behind the scenes photos of the samples of the plush full stack.
Ooh.
It's actually a booster and a ship, and they're going to connect together so you can make your own plush full stack. But you can still sign up there. Who made this? The plush ship with a static fire underneath it. Seriously?
It's amazing.
Oh, geez. We still have that there. We had a bunch of people asking for it. We were taking email addresses previously, but right now it doesn't actually look like they have the email. We're going to have to ask the shop guy, where is the email link? Because it says leave your email address below, but I don't see the link anymore.
Huh.
Look, bookmark this or leave it in a tab or something like that, because we are, at some point, coming up sooner rather than later, going to reveal the design of the full stack plushie, and we were doing some, like, you could get notified when that's ready. It's like, give us your email address. We're not going to spam you or anything, but as soon as that's ready, we're going to have that. We'll have to ask. Yeah, it looks like the email field has glitched away because I loaded the page, and then I didn't actually go down to make sure the field was still there. Silly me. That was my bad, but we'll get that fixed. Tagging the right people. We are still marching ahead with that, and I've seen some behind-the-scenes shot of it. Just to clean things up real quick, Series is a PadRap member. Color and chat with Joanna. This is needing a tumbler. Oh, we've definitely talked about a stainless steel tumbler or something like that. Yep. Catboy Rocketry, 24/7 commentary streaming win. Yeah, no, that's not a thing. I don't think we're going to do live commentary like the news where we keep having to make up stuff to talk about or blow things out of proportion constantly. I don't think we're doing that.
We could just record ourselves for an hour and then just put it on a repeat like a loop. That's what the 24 hours news channels
Exactly,
do.
Right? They just play
I like
recorded
yakking
earlier.
a lot, but man, not for that long.
That's a lot. And lastly, here's the last question, then we're going to shut it down, y'all. Joe Sapp with a $10 super chat. Saying, do you think SpaceX hasn't tried the methane cooling heat shield because of environmental reasons? Releasing methane in the upper atmosphere still seems like the heat shields are too space shuttle-y. That's referring back to that transpirational, conspirational, whichever spirational shielding it was, where they were going to try to protect the booster by basically just leaking things out the side of it. And I think that was sort of a non-starter. They went with a more traditional heat shielding instead of trying to some sort of wacky I think it was transpirational cooling, if I'm saying it correctly. Was that the right term?
Yep.
Yeah, but we never really saw that go anywhere else, and we do see the heat shield tiles on it. I do think SpaceX is going to have a lot of things to solve with the heat shield tiles, but that's why you fly. SpaceX's thing is they launch things, they do things, they practice it, they see how it works, and they rapidly iterate. They're not going to sit here and spend $12 billion in 11 years waiting until the perfect rocket is ready. They're going to launch it, and they're going to try to rapidly iterate it in a manner that gets them ground truth, air truth, sky truth, whatever you want to call it, for their designs. But Chris, Alex, I think we've talked enough, don't y'all?
Yes, I think that rounds it up. We've had a Falcon 9 launch and land. We've had a Boost 7 lift and land.
Lift and land. One more time, folks. That was the voice of Chris Bergen with NASA Spaceflight. Chris, always a pleasure having you hang out with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. And we had Mr. Alejandro Alcantarilla Romera. Alex, thank you as well for hanging out with us.
Always a pleasure.
Good deal. My name is John Galloway for NSF here. We are going to send it back over to Starbase Live. You can keep watching and listening to what's going on with all the multi-view cameras. But for now, our commentary here for that, what might be the last Booster 7 lift onto the orbital launch mound, is going to come to an end. And we will see you nerds later. Thanks for hanging out with us.